Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we started up the season simulation for 2046-47, and so far this team has been doing quite well despite having a lot of young guys in the bottom six. As you can see, we are 26-15, so doing relatively well, and hopefully the rest of the season could be good as well. But if we look at like our team stats individually, you can see that this year has been better, I would say, in terms of goal scoring. Like, we are finding our goal scoring earlier in the season. Last year it took us to the second half of the season before we started scoring goals, but our defensive play has still been very good. We are actually the best defensive team in the entire NHL, despite having two young goaltenders in the NHL, which is exciting. So despite us trading away Nicholas in the offseason, we have some very good goaltending results from both Bergenheim and Irwin. Like, if Bergenheim continues to play like this, maybe there's a chance this guy could end up winning the Calder as a goaltender, which you don't see very often. So yeah, he's been fantastic so far. And then, of course, Irwin has also been very good as our backup option. So been very excited just to see how those guys continue to play, and hopefully our defensive core and stuff like that continues to play good as well, because this defensive core, it is pretty veteran heavy, but guys like Smith jumping in, guys like Ekblad jumping in have made us at least have a little bit of youth on it. And then, like I said, the young bottom six for the most part has been actually quite surprising. Guys like Howes, he's only 25, Lysak's 22, Pollock's only 23, Hybert's 22. And then you can see we do have some injuries as well, like Koivunen, he's 22. But in general, our bottom six is quite young. Our top six is quite old. Guys like Crane are starting to lose their X factors. So this team in general is just, it is not the craziest team we've ever had, but they are assimilating good. So it makes me feel like we might actually have a good run this year, just because we're kind of maybe over-assimilating in a way. And maybe that will give us a better chance to win ourselves a couple playoff series, and maybe even a Stanley Cup this year in one of these last seasons, which I'm hoping for drastically, because if we don't win the Stanley Cup this year, this probably could be the last chance we have, potentially, unless we could find ways to develop this team better in the last few seasons. But definitely going to be a lot of work going forward still. But anyways, before we get into potentially making a trade to help with our offense and continuing to simulate the rest of the regular season, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into all that stuff. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, "This is the year you win the Stanley Cup." And like I was just saying, I really hope it's the year that we win the Stanley Cup, because with the ages on this team, we are definitely going to be suffering more and more drop-off. There's a chance we might get some retirements this offseason, so this might be the last chance we get to win a Stanley Cup, especially with guys like Houghton and Crane at least. Guys like Mäkinen also could be retiring potentially soon, so after that, like, the rest of these players on this roster are all 30 and younger, so at least that way we don't have that much retirements. But losing these three guys, if we lose any of them in these next 2 years, obviously it could be a little bit of a downfall for our team. But guys like Houghton are going to be probably replaced by some guys in the minors, so that's not a huge loss, really. It's just more the offense that he provides. Crane, obviously, we could always look to find more people in the offseason and all that, but definitely we are going to suffer some sort of a drop-off and a drawback once those guys decide to retire. So hopefully that doesn't come soon, but if it does happen in the offseason, at least it will free us up some cap space for some more moves potentially next season if this year we don't get that cup. Next comment is from Sour Taco, says, "Your older guys are losing their X factors, so you'll likely get at least one retirement after the season. Don't think you need to make any trades since the team has been pretty good in spite of all the injuries, but I wouldn't be opposed to you acquiring Harris." And yeah, Harris is kind of the guy I have interest in the most. The main reason why is because we haven't really had a proven goal scorer in the series when you think about it. Like, I know Crane's been a solid goal scorer, but I don't think he's been like the goal scorer I was expecting him to be when we drafted him. As you can see, his best season was a 44 goal season. He's only had 40 goals 2 times. Like, we've never had a 50 goal scorer, I don't think, on this roster ever. So I think obviously bringing in somebody like Harris from Washington, who is in the last year of his contract, he's also very old and has never won a Stanley Cup. I think it might be a nice opportunity to give that guy a shot at winning a Stanley Cup and giving us something that, like I said, we have never really had in our lineup, which is a very good goal scorer. Obviously, he's dropped off a lot since his heyday, but I think he could definitely still give us a lot of good goal scoring. He's on a really good pace right now, and he does have low trade value, so it won't cost us too much to get him. So likely he's the type of guy I'd look to bring in, and then I would hope that obviously he could help us out a lot in terms of the playoffs and all that. Like, he's been Pretty good regular season player. Playoff wise, obviously, it's a little bit more iffy because his team hasn't gone super far, but I think he could still give us something that could help us out. And he has been playing with our former guy in Seal Fido and Erickson, so for him to join the Islanders, maybe these two guys are saying, hey, go join the Islanders, go have a chance to win the Cup, because the Capitals haven't been able to get it done with these two guys in their lineup. So I think that might be something we'd look into, and then we will probably end up having to send somebody like Koivunen down to the AHL just because he hasn't been scoring super well so far at the NHL level. And the last and final comment is from Dylan Burrows, who says, I think Hunt or that guy with the high cap hit with retained is who to go after. Add some picks in as well, even if it means giving a first or second round. We got to go for it this year, and I'm not too sure which player he means with the high cap hit. But in terms of Hunt on the trading block, if we go back to the trading block, there is also a younger guy, but I feel like we kind of need more of a proven player, and that's why I'd be leaning towards Harris more so. If we go to Hunt here, he is on Columbus, you could see. He's an 81 overall at 31. He isn't very much a proven player. Like, he's having a really good breakout year this year, 39 points in 39 games. Most of his career, he's been a 30-point guy, but to me, he's not really proven himself being that type of guy at the NHL level. Like, he is putting up a good amount of numbers this season, but then is he going to just jump up crazy and overall on statistical growth? I don't really know, but he's only hit 20 goals 2 times in his career. I just don't think he's the proven player. Even though he's been really good, I just don't think he's what I'm looking to get fully. Like, he does have very good shooting categories, but I think bringing in somebody like, what's his name again? Friggin' Washington dude. Harris. That's who I was thinking of. Bringing in Harris, I think, would be a lot better just because we already know his track record. Obviously, he's making 10.73. We have a lot of cap space, too, and he won't fetch us that much. Like, we have to literally only give up, I think it was like a 4th and a 5th or something to get him, which is pretty crazy because he's on 26 goals. And like I said, he has much more of a track record of being a consistent goal scorer in the NHL level. There has been some down years, like 18 goals a few years ago, but that's when his team wasn't doing too well. If he actually goes to a team that has a good roster like ours, I think he should be able to produce. Now, giving him also to like our second line right wing spot, putting him next to somebody like Mäkinen who could pass the puck really well, I think that also should give Harris a good chance to score a lot of goals on our team. So I think Harris is probably the play, just because of the low value, because he's old and he's on 1 year left, and also because of the fact that I think he could fit our team better. He's also got the proven track record. Meanwhile, Hunt is having a great year this year, but is he going to be good in future years? Because that guy, I think, was signed for multiple years too, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, he signed for 1 extra year, which is not a huge issue, but he's also not got, like I said, that proven track record of consistency, so I kind of want the consistency a little bit more so. Alright, so with that said, let's go to the fine trade option here, and we are going to make a trade for Harris, just because I feel like he's the one I want. Obviously, we could kind of just stay pat with this roster if we really wanted to, but I feel like a small upgrade in the goal scoring department isn't a huge issue, because we've been a very good defensive team, but getting a little bit more offense out of our team, I think, is a good little thing for our team to do. So that's why bringing in somebody like Harris, I think, is good for us. Obviously, he's also on a modified no trade clause now, which is interesting. Before, he never wanted to come to this team, but now it seems like he actually does want to come here, which is nice. And like I said, it literally doesn't cost us that much. It only a 4th and a 5th round pick, which is barely anything. There is also Pollock, but I don't want to give up Pollock because I do like him quite a bit in that bottom 6 type of role. So a 4th and a 5th round pick, I think, is a no-brainer. Those two things that we get in the 4th and 5th round, they could be low elites, but they could also end up being like a bottom 6 forward, a low top 9, something really bad, right? So I think this is a no-brainer. Obviously, we could get them to retain if we really wanted to, but I don't think it's necessary because I don't think there's really any other areas I want to upgrade too much. So we're just going to do a 4th and a 5th round pick to the Washington Capitals, and we get back a guy that's got 26 goals on the season, and we'll see if he ends up helping us out in the goal scoring department. So Harris has joined the Islanders. I'm excited about it. Yeah, multiple morale changes for trading for a quality player, so it does help out our team a little bit with morale too. Let's do some roster moves because I think we have to send somebody down. Actually, we don't right now because of the injuries, but we are going to have to still send down probably Koivunen into the AHL once he returns back from injury. That's likely the play just because I don't want him to be a scratch. So for right now, it's fine because we do have a lot of injuries, but we are going to have to send somebody down once we are fully healthy. So Let's go to our lineup here, and we are going to be taking Grollo out of the lineup, and we'll put Harris right there and move him up to the second line. Dempsey will have to get demoted, but it's not a huge issue. We could always demote somebody else instead, like Trotter, if we really want to. That's what I was also thinking, is something like this. Because Dempsey has been actually really good for us this season. I feel like demoting Trotter would make more sense. Yeah, I think, you know what, we'll do something like this. Dempsey, Mackinnon, and Harrison, and Trotter will play with Howes and Kazanov. And then we will also go to our power play unit here. And we want Harris on the power play for sure. So I think we will bump... Who do I want to take off the power play? Menino's playing on the power play right now, but that's only because of the injury. Let's take him off that for the time being. And we'll give that to Harris. We got to find somebody to take off the power play, though, fully, I think. So Harris will get some power play time. That should help him score some goals for our team. I could put him on the first unit instead of Kazanov. Yeah, you know what? Let's move Kazanov actually to the second unit instead. Because Harris, we know, can score goals. Kazanov's kind of more of a defensive forward. He can score goals too, but I think that might balance it out a little bit more. So let's do something like that. And then once we get Ashton back from injury... I don't know what I want to do with that. Maybe move Houghton into the second unit. But then I'd have to take somebody off of it. I'd have to take like Schaefer off the power play. I honestly don't really know who I would take off the power play once Ashton returns, but we'd probably have to take somebody off in that sense. So I think that is good to go. I'm excited, like I said, to see what Harris could do. Like, obviously, he's an old man at this point, but I think, obviously, he's got 26 goals in 42 games on a team that's, I don't think, in a playoff mix right now. I think they were in a wild card spot. I think he could definitely give us some really good goal scoring. Like, I expect him to be pretty close to point per game with us, even though he's 39 years old, so... I like this addition a lot. He's not a hugely great fit here, but he probably retires at the end of the season. So it's just basically like a one-trick pony or one-season wonder potentially for us. But maybe he's what we need kind of to win ourselves a Stanley Cup. So with that said, I think we're ready to continue to simulate as we hope to get back to full health here soon. And then we could obviously make our send down Koivunen down to the AHL, get him some playing time in Bridgeport, because I think he needs it a little bit, because he only had like 3 goals, I think, at this point in the season. So I think obviously him getting some more time in the AHL is not really a bad thing entirely. All right, so let's see how Harris performs with this team. Let's go to the 31st of January, and we should be getting close to full health, I think, around that point. Columbus is a 5-2 victory. Boston's a 3-2 victory. Washington and Harris's return, not really a return, I guess. And we won that one 5-4 as well, as Ashton is back. And same with probably Koivunen, my guess. That's why we have to send somebody down. Yes, he is. So we'll send Koivunen back down to Bridgeport. And we'll get him into the lineup in the AHL. Let's adjust the AHL here quickly first. We will take this Brulard guy out of the lineup because he's only a low 6. I guess I should take him out. I honestly don't even know who's technically scratched. Let's just take him out. I don't really give a shit who I'm taking out, to be honest, at this stage. We'll get Koivunen higher in the lineup as well. We'll go back to the NHL here, and we will have to scratch somebody still, though, on this team that I wasn't hoping to scratch. It's got to be a bottom 6 guy. It's probably got to be Hybrid, to be honest. But he's 22 years old. I didn't think about this part. Oh, actually, House could get scratched, I guess. Yeah, House could get scratched. That's not a bad option. He's only got 2 goals and 13 points. I want to keep Pollock kind of in the lineup, so... Actually, it's Menino that needs to be taken out. Yeah, that's right. Menino was the depth forward, so that's not too bad, actually. Never mind. So Ashton's back. That's good. He's not actually fully healthy yet, so maybe I should wait a bit. So you know what? Let's take him out again just so he can get fully healthy. And then we'll put him actually back in the lineup. I just don't want him to get re-injured right now. There we go. Now he's fully healthy. Would prefer to do that than have risking him get injured for another time this season, because I think he's been injured like 3 times already this year, and obviously he seems like he's a bit injury prone, so we just don't want to risk him being out for like the rest of the year or something like that. So Koivunen's fully healthy. That's good as well for Bridgeport now. Maybe he could give Bridgeport a little bit of a boost, because I know he's decent at the AHL level in terms of points, but NHL wise so far he hasn't been that good. So We are on a nice little winning streak since acquiring Harris, but of course, after I said that, we lose 7-5 to Columbus, but we do beat Edmonton. So only one loss since that trade, which is great to see. We are now 32-16 at February the 1st, which is looking pretty damn good. We are first place in the Metropolitan Division as well. Only a couple points up on the Blue Jackets. We might as well keep it rolling at this point. Let's go to the end of February, so we'll go to March the 1st and see if we can string together some more wins as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. We'll probably look and see if there's been any crazy AI trades, but I think our team definitely will be making it back to the playoffs unless they have a really bad rest of the season, but doubt that's going to happen. Was Jensen actually injured? No, it says that he's fully recovered, so never mind. It was just a day-to-day thing for him. Game against Boston, because we lost to St. Louis, is a 4-2 victory. Philadelphia, 4-1 loss, so a little bit of a bad start to this month, but that's okay. We don't need to fully dominate this season or else we might be a first-round exit. Okay, now we're on a little bit of a losing streak, but we do end it as a win over Utah in a shootout. And Minnesota has fired their head coach, Mary Klepish. Was that a female coach? I guess so. That's interesting. I don't know if I've seen an NHL team with a female coach in this, but I haven't paid attention to it that much. Calgary's a loss as well. Buffalo's a 7-3 victory. Pittsburgh, as Crane has been injured. That's one thing that's been a little bit more noticeable with Crane as he's gotten older. He's been in more injuries involved. He will be out till March the 29th, so his season's not done, but he will be missing a full month of action, which is not great. So I guess it's good that we brought in Harris because the goal scoring gets helped out a lot. We could always look to bring in another goal scorer if we really want to, but I think I'm okay without making any more moves still. Like Dempsey could get top line time if we want, or we could actually get Harris onto that top line because Harris could play right here. And we could get Kazanov into the top 6 maybe, something like that. And we could swap him and Dempsey around. Lysak could go up to the 3rd line. And then the 4th line, we'll just throw Grollo into the rest of these spots. That should be fine. Perfect. Yeah, Crane's dropped down to an 83 now. Goddamn, man. Yeah, this is probably his last year likely in NHL in my opinion, and it's probably Houghton's last year, but it's tough to know for sure on that. Jersina, was he injured in the AHL before? I don't think so. I don't remember. I got to double check on that just because I want the AHL team to still do okay. I think he was okay, right? Yeah, he was. Thought so. All right. Hopefully Harris could do good on that top line when Crane's out. But 36-21-2, so definitely not a great month of February. We lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that month. A couple of them were shootout losses, but still a little bit of a downfall. But like I said, if we over-assimilate too much, I don't know if we're going to be that good. If we actually assimilate kind of like where we get into the wild card spot, I feel like we might have a better chance to go far in the playoffs. So anyways, we're 3rd place now in the Metropolitan Division. We are 3 points back of 1st place with games in hand, so we definitely haven't fallen really that much at all. And we are a total of 6 points up on the Devils, so there is some teams trying to catch up to us, so we got to be a little bit wary about that. We can't be losing 7 games in a month again, but we are very close at least to the end of the season where it shouldn't impact us that much, I feel like. But let's go through these first 2 games before the trade deadline, and we'll take an updated look at how Harris has been with us so far. There's 2 nice wins, 2 great defensive efforts, 5-1 and 3-1, and we're now 38-21-2. I don't think there's really any other moves I want to make for this team this season. Now, like, we could bring in more support, but I feel like if you overdo it, then your team might be out early anyways. But let's take a look at some updated stats here on the roster here. Not fully, but I do want to just take a look on how Harris has fit in with this team. I feel like he should be fitting in quite well, likely. And the answer to that is not crazily. Like, he's definitely doing worse here than he was with Washington. But he is on 12 points in 20 games, which is solid. 7 goals, 5 assists. So he's a bit more hybrid production with us. Not a pure goal scorer like he was with Washington, but looks like he's helping out the power play a little bit. He's getting way less ice time per game, but he should be okay with his ice time. He's doing really good actually on the takeaways too, so might be an underrated part of his game, taking away the puck. So he hasn't been necessarily lighting it up on fire, but he's been doing a good enough job right now. So I'm trying to think if I want to upgrade any areas. Like, we do have the cap space to upgrade some spots if we really want to, but is there anything that we really need? I don't think so. Like, if we go to our contract situation, we have $11.6 million in cap space. Like, we hypothetically could really upgrade something, but the young goalies have been good for the most part. The defensive core doesn't really need much upgrading. Like, we already have a legit top 4, legit top 6 pairing. Strombo's the one guy that could get traded because he's not really getting ice time that he deserves. But I don't know if I would want to just trade him straight up for a depth defenseman just so we actually have a depth defender. I think it might be okay just to leave him scratched still. And then from a forward perspective, like, we do have some weakness with the young guys in the bottom 6, but they could also grow. And I feel like if we make ourselves too good, we're going to be obviously over-simulating and being an early exit. We might not win a cup. But if we have kind of more of a mid-roster, maybe that gives us a better chance this year. So, hypothetically, we could upgrade the centers if we really wanted to. But I think we are going to stay pat with $11.6 million in cap space. I'm going to probably need it in the offseason, I think. But I think we're going to run with this for the rest of the season. I think we're going to. We have a lot of big names up for renewal in the offseason. We might as well just kind of stay pat. We also do have guys in the AHL that could easily come up at some point, like Terry, for instance, Koivunen. I didn't offer Terry an extension, but it already says he has an extension, which is kind of weird. But yeah, Terry and Koivunen honestly could come back up for the playoffs if we need to. Like, we definitely have some good talents in the minors that is ready for the NHL. If we are not doing too well in the playoffs, we could easily call up DeKaiser, DeRoche, Jersina, Markstrom. Like, we definitely don't really need it. Gove as well, for instance. So I think what we're going to do is keep the team the same. We have a lot of good NHL talent that could get promoted if needed. We have a good NHL roster. I think we're going to stay pat and hope that this team is good enough. We actually have moved up in goals for. Actually, I didn't take a look at this. Since acquiring Harris, even though he's not been crazy with us, we've actually jumped up to 7th in goals for, and we're 14th on the power play now, so I don't know how much the power play's improved. But in goals for, I think we were like 13th, and now we've moved to 7th, so we're looking pretty balanced now on the approach. Our penalty kill has gotten a lot worse, though. Yeah, we're a lot worse, I should say. I don't even know the wording for it, but we are still the best defensive team in the NHL with this young goaltending combination. So who knows? Irwin and Bergenheim might have a Jennings coming to them. It's just pretty insane because Irwin's only in his 2nd season and Bergenheim's literally in his 1st. So we're going to stay pat with our roster. I know some of you probably would be like, oh, look at more at your stats in depth and maybe make a trade just to upgrade things. But I feel like if we do too much, we might not win the Stanley Cup. So let's advance a day past the 2047 trade deadline and see if we beat Columbus on this game. They're a team we're chasing actually in the Metro. And we'll take a look at some AI trades just to see if any former players got dealt or not. So Columbus, is it going to be a win or a loss? The answer to that after we look at this guy on waivers, Jimmy Thomas. I feel like I recognize that name. 28-year-old depth defenseman. See, maybe I should have traded Strombo at the deadline because we could use this guy as a depth defenseman in the NHL if we really wanted to. Doesn't have the best defensive awareness, though, so I'm going to decline that. So we do beat Columbus in the shootout 6-5, so that's a pretty big game. Like I said, 2 really good teams, and we beat them 6-5, so good offensive game in the end for our team. Not necessarily the best defensive, but Columbus is a very good offensive team, so it makes sense. But let's take a look at some trades that went down at the deadline just to see if any former players are still kicking around or anything. But I think the main addition that will be helping us once we get to the playoffs is Harris, and then obviously also with a fully healthy roster with Crane coming back by then, I think it also will give us a bit of a boost. But any former players I recognize getting dealt? Don't think so far. Looks like a lot of generated players. Obviously, it should be all generated players almost at this stage, but not seeing anybody that I used to have. I do recognize guys like Dean Monroe, though, getting dealt to Florida. Cooper Wingquist, Migas. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any former guys, unfortunately, but that makes it more surprising because once we get to the playoffs, maybe we'll go up against one of our former players at some point in time. All right, so we have, I think, just under 3 weeks before Crane is back from his injury. So let's continue to simulate the rest of the season and see how this team finishes off the year. But likely we're a playoff team, which is great to see considering obviously there has been a little bit of setbacks with guys dropping off and all that stuff. But like I said, I think Harris is a sneaky good addition. It's not really a sneaky addition, but he has dropped off enough where it really didn't cost us anything. So I think he could be a very good addition for what we gave up. We lose to Boston in overtime, lose to Minnesota in a shootout. Winnipeg's an overtime victory. Dallas is a shootout victory. A lot of extra frame games here. And then we also beat Colorado in regulation. But we're now 42-21-4. And we are back in first place in the Metro. Only by 2 points. The Rangers and Blue Jackets are still kind of hanging around with us. Now, everybody else is 10 points below, though. So we're probably going to finish as a top 3 team in the Metro. I don't see us falling to a wildcard spot unless we lose a lot of games coming. But I'm excited to take a look at some stats at the end of the season, like Harris's and all that. Because I know he had 12 points in 20 games, but he will probably make his money in the playoffs. So I feel like he's going to be really good there. We actually do have a back-to-back situation with Washington coming up. So Harris will get to face his former team in his former building in the next little bit. And yeah, his former team is not going to be making the playoffs, so maybe we're going to be giving him a chance to actually win a Stanley Cup, and I think that's a nice little thing to do for a guy like that. That's 39 years old at this point. All right, let's go through these 2 games, Ottawa and New Jersey, and then we'll do the back-to-back with the Washington Capitals. Ottawa is a 5-1 victory, and New Jersey's a 6-2 victory. Very nice little wins there. And now we have our back-to-back with the Capitals. I wonder if Harris is going to score against his former team or not. First one on home ice. Crane is back before the second game, so we could easily readjust the lines here. So we will be taking Grollo out of the lineup here. And we will be going back to Crane. I'm excited to have Crane back. Like I said, he isn't the crazy goal scorer I was hoping he would be when we brought him in. But he has been a very good leader for this team. So let's get Crane back on that top line. Harris will go back to the second line to play next to Dempsey. And the rest of that should be good. Perfect. Anyways, let's stop the sim because I can't see what's going on again. We beat Washington in the first one 6-1, so I wonder how much goals Harris had against his former team there. And then our second of the 2 meetings against Washington, that's I think the first time Harris has returned to Washington. Can he beat his former team again? The answer is yes, he can, 3-2. And we're now 46-21-4. We have not clinched a playoff spot yet, but we're 16 points up on the first wildcard spot and 17 points up on the second wildcard spot. So we are very close to clinching our playoff berth again, which is great. I wasn't expecting us to literally be leading the Metropolitan Division this year, but like I said, the young goaltending tandem, I think that was a big if going into the season, but it's definitely proven himself to be pretty good, even though we just lost 6-1 to Seattle right there, which is not very nice. But let's go through this game against the Flyers, and then we have New Jersey as well. Philadelphia. We have a head coach conversation, which means we have clinched a playoff spot. So that's good to see. So we have made it back to the playoffs again. We have a lot of talents in the AHL we could call up if we get into trouble, but I am very happy that this team was able to make it back again because, like I said, this could be the last chance this entire team gets. It could be the last chance Crane gets specifically, or even Houghton for that matter. So make it back is great. And we do beat New Jersey as well. So we're 48-22-4. We still have 8 games to go left on the season. So the season still doesn't end for a few weeks. Hopefully we could just stay healthy going into the playoffs, knock on wood, and hopefully we could have a good playoff run ahead of us as well. So let's go through 4 games. Toronto, we play back-to-back. Can we beat them in both games? The answer to that is yes, we can, by identical score lines. That's kind of cool. Love to see it. Ottawa's a 4-1 loss, though, and Detroit's a 4-3 shootout loss, but we do have 50 wins on the year, which I was not expecting that much wins with this roster, but I'm really glad that the bottom 6 actually panned out, and the goaltending has panned out too. I was a little bit worried with the young guys, but the young guys have definitely taken a huge step up this year to help out, especially with the old guys dropping off and all that. All right, Rangers and Utah. Rangers are a team that's kind of up there in the standings with us. We win against them 6-3, and we beat Utah 2-0. We have 2 games left on the season, St. Louis and Florida. First of the 2 against the Blues in St. Louis. Against Makinen's drafted team, we lose 6-3, and then Florida to wrap up the season is going to be a 3-2 victory. So we finished 53-24-5 on the year. I think that's a really good season, and it actually has won us the President's Trophy this season, which I don't really like, but maybe, you never know. Maybe it means a first round exit, maybe it means a cup champion, but we do win the President's Trophy by like 2 points, it looks like. So that last game in the season won us the President's. I was not expecting to win the President's Trophy this season at all. Well, that's interesting. Okay, let's put my face on screen. Let me close my eyes, and let's go over to the stats. And that way I don't see who led us in points and all that. I'm just squinting, so I can't even really read anything out other than the menu. I'm not even focused on our player stats. Let's go to Stats Central, and let's see where we finished in terms of the league and all that. So, we finished as the best team in the NHL with a young goaltending tandem. I love to see that. We only just beat out the Oilers too, which obviously the Oilers have Nicholas, so that's kind of funny. But both of us had the exact same amount of wins, but we had more overtime losses. They had more regulation. In terms of goals for per game, 3.4 goals per game. Our offense started to find itself quite a bit. We do finish in the top 10 in goals for, so that's good. It's not the craziest offense, but it's not the worst for sure. Then in terms of goals against per game, we finished with 2.71. We were the best defensive team in the NHL, and that was like all year round with the young goaltending tandem. So our two young goalies are likely Jennings winners. Maybe we even have a Vezina winner or a Rookie of the Year candidate with Bergenheim, but that's surprising that we were the best defensive team, even with like guys like Houghton dropping off, and then also, like I said, losing Nicholas. So a nice budget-friendly goalie combination is really good to see. From a power play perspective, our power play, I wouldn't say it was crazy, but it wasn't the worst. It's kind of like mid-table, 16.8, so the power play could still use some work. And then our penalty kill at 86.2% was tied for third with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So great defensive results, solid 5-on-5 offense. Power play itself needs some work, but that is a great season. And I'm hoping that we don't have the curse that we won the President's Trophy. Maybe it makes us simulate really good in the playoffs, or maybe it makes us get swept in the first round. But I definitely think we over-simulated quite a bit this year. Was not expecting that type of result. All right, terms of points. Ragnarsson led the team in points with 90. That's why I gave him the extension at the beginning of the season. I just did not want to lose him for like $20+ million because we wouldn't be able to afford that. But that's really nice to see. We are once again going to hide this, and I'm going to close my eyes and change the position, so it's more of a surprise for us on who or how much goals guys like Crane had on this team. So in terms of stats, here we go. Makinen, 70 points in 82 games. Pretty good for his overall, I guess. He has dropped off a little bit. This could be his last year, or maybe next year will be, but he's still producing at a decent pace despite being old. Ashton only on 38 points. I didn't look to see if he was on the power play. I think he originally was, but I think in the second half he didn't get power play time, but he did miss 10 games due to injury. Wasn't the healthiest. Definitely a down year for Cole Ashton, considering last year he had 60 points, but let's hope that he could have some good playoff results, because that'd be great. His ice time has been okay, though, still, despite not being on the power play if he isn't, so I'll take it. Pollock on 20 points. Pretty solid year from Mohamed Pollock. And Menino as a depth forward is good. Like I said, Menino might only be a 76. I was thinking he'd be good because of the passing and all that. And 8 points in 13 games as a 76 is fantastic. So can't ask much more from Hunter Menino. Left wing side of things, Ragnarsson with the 90 points, 39 goals for him. Great season from Calle Ragnarsson. That is a career high in points and goals, I think. So I do like that a lot. He's technically our best player right now, so hopefully he continues to do that. We also had Crane on 64 points. Definitely not as much points this year for Crane, but a 30-goal season at his age, I'll definitely take it. Especially considering last year he was quite injury-prone. He only had 14 goals, but he definitely has missed a lot of time the last 2 years. But hopefully he can stay healthy for the rest of these playoffs, because this could be his last year as an NHL player, which is unfortunate. So hopefully we can get him a Stanley Cup, because I would like to see him with a cup. But if we don't get him a cup, he's at least an Islanders legend. So aside from that, Kazanov, 40 points. Not bad of a season from Kazanov, but not as much as I was anticipating. He did get maybe a little bit less ice time this year. Trotter on 38 points, 22 goals. I'll take the 22 goals. Like, it is a good goal scoring, but the point total is a little bit low. But he should be able to start producing more once he gets into the top 6. Like, I feel like once Karain retires, he'll get more of an elevated role, or Kazanov will, and that could help them out a bit. From a right-wing perspective, Harris finished with 70 points on the season, and that means he had a total of 37 points with us the rest of the way. And we brought him in for his goal scoring, which he did provide 17 goals, but he also picked up 20 assists, so definitely more hybrid production with us, like I was saying before. But yeah, that's really good for his age, and that's why we brought him in, just to try and help us out offensively a bit. And I think he definitely got our offense better, because we finished as a top 10 offensive team this year. So yeah, hopefully he has a good playoffs ahead as well. He is 39 years old, so I expect him to continue dropping off. But yeah, good stats from Harris at his age. Dempsey had 25 goals and 56 points. Not too bad from Dempsey. Good year for him, I guess, in terms of goal scoring. He's been a consistent 20-goal guy, but he's never really reached high plateaus. But he is still a great player, and he's kind of worth the type of money that he's providing, because he does pick up points in the playoffs and that stuff as well. Aside from that, Lysak, 29 points, 16 goals as a rookie. I'll definitely take that from Lysak, especially with his ice time. Hybrid on 22 points, somehow -5, but it's okay. Howe's on 21 points, -5, and Grollo had 10 points as a depth forward in 25 games. So a couple of the depth forwards did actually relatively well for us too. Then from the defensive standpoint, we had Holmstrom on 52 points, so good year from Holmstrom. That's why we have him still locked up as well, just because he could help us out with the goal scoring department. And Olli Howden finished with 48 points despite being 37 years old. So he won't win another Norris likely in his career, but he is still providing some really good offense for us from the back end. And speaking of offense from the back end, that's not who I was expecting to be third. But Nathaniel Carlton, 47 points this year. So that's a big year from Carlton, plus 28. He is in a contract year, so there is a chance we might lose him this offseason. But Schaefer at least is locked up, which is good, I think, for a while, right? Yeah, Schaefer's locked up for the rest of the series, so at least we don't need to worry too much about our defense getting worse. But it would be nice to kind of have Carlton locked up more. But with like guys like Smith getting better and all that too, maybe we don't bring him back. Tough to say. Aside from that, Ekblad, 20 points as a rookie is pretty solid. Smith had 18 points, plus 27. Good year for Carson Smith. I don't know how good that is compared to last year. It's worse than last year based on points and plus minus, but it's still great results. Like, he's a plus 72 in his career through 2 seasons, so pretty good for the 21-year-old. When did we draft him again? First round, okay. I wasn't sure if he was a late round steal or not. And then Strombo only played 4 games all this year, and he's dropped down to a 75 depth defender, so he is probably not happy with his ice time, and that's why he's dropped down so much. But there's not really much I could do. We definitely might have to look into moving him in the offseason, or we let him play next year when Carlton leaves, if Carlton decides to leave. And then in terms of our young goaltending tandem, Bergenheim finished with a .913 save percentage this year and a 2.67 goals against average. We only had 2 shutouts all year, but we were the best defensive team. So that's pretty surprising. 38, 18, and 5 for Bergenheim, 15 and 6 for Irwin with a .914 and a 2.61. Both goalies really good, which is nice to see. We could go to either or in the playoffs, I guess. And then Bergenheim did finish with those 5 assists he had early on in the year. Irwin did pick up an assist as well. All right. Well, the young goalies are doing good, and I like to see that. In terms of player stats around the entire league, let's take a look at this as well. Who led the NHL in points? My guess is Guerin. The answer is no, it's not Guerin. It is Jyrki Hakkarainen in Columbus, 134 points, tied with his teammate Eric Lyon in 134 points as well. Guerin was up there over 100 points again, but he has regressed a little bit, which is surprising. So there's that. Best goal scorer looks like Hakkarainen as well. Yep, Hakkarainen led the league in goals by 25. That's insane. He was almost a goal a game. Wow, at 34 years old, that's quite impressive. Quite impressive. Best defenseman in terms of points this year is Khalil Leib. I don't think I've ever seen this guy in this franchise mode before. He was drafted 2nd round a few years back, 5 years ago, with the Red Wings. But great year for that guy. He's going to win the Norris. Erzberg, our former defenseman, finishes 2nd, so at least he won't win the Norris after leaving us. But there's the defenseman. Holmstrom did finish top 10 in defensive points, it looks like, which is good. From a goaltending perspective, the most wins this season was our former goaltender Esteban Nicholas with the Edmonton Oilers. Most shutouts was Panaye in Utah. Best save percentage by a starter was Panaye in Utah with a .916. And the best goals against average by a starter was Bergenheim with us with a 2.67. But I think it's definitely going to come down to guys like Nicholas, Viking stat maybe even as well. But his save percentage isn't the best. Panaye probably wins it, but it could go to our former goalie Nicholas. Bergenheim I don't think will win the Vezina this year, but he definitely could be in the conversation as a rookie, which is awesome. And then the best rookie this season was Alec Combs in terms of points. 58 points for him, 24 goals season. And then Muller, number 2 with 26 goals and 55 points. Then there's also this Lindsay guy with 51 points. So some good rookies this season. And like I said, Bergenheim is a rookie goaltender. Maybe he has his name in the hat for a Calder chance, but I don't know if he will actually win it or not. So there is that. Now comes the question on who are we playing in the first round of the playoffs, and are we ready to get cheesed in the first round since we won the President's Trophy, or are we going to have a chance to actually make a good run this season? Let's find out who we're facing. The answer to that will be the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know if I want to face Montreal again in the playoffs. We've had some bad luck against them. We've had some good luck against them. They're definitely the type of team that could beat us. But they finished 40, 34, and 8 during the season. So I feel a little bit nervous just because they finished also 36 and 1 in their last 10 games. They finished technically below 500. And if you look at this comparison, they actually had a top 10 offense despite that. They're 14th in goals against, which isn't the worst. Their special teams are definitely not super strong, though. So, I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like we could get cheese, but it's probably because we won the President's Trophy. So, let's take a look at their roster, then we'll take a look at their player stats for the season as well, and then that'll be it for this episode. But another matchup with the Habs, huh? First line, Jakob Leeson, who used to play with us. He also briefly played with the Jets, or actually not briefly, quite a bit. He also played with the Rangers, but he's been in Montreal the last 2 years. He's actually had a really good career after leaving us, and he does not have a cup at this point, but yeah, he's a good leader for that team. They also do have Jordan Franson, and Eli Anthony is still there after all these years. This guy's been there every single time I feel like we've played them. Second line, Cameron Addison, I think he's always been there as well. Alec Combs, and then Dominic Ziuk guy as well. Third line, Raymond Gostad. What else you got? Vyacheslav Artukin, Dwayne Sawchuk, and a fourth line of Devin Agostini, Brady Cully, or not Cully, why am I saying Brady Cully? Brady Cullen, goddamn man. Pedro Blujas as well. So this is a very veteran-heavy team, I think, as well. Some young faces, but mostly a lot of veterans on it. It doesn't have a superstar on it, but they definitely could still do really well. And it does scream cheese, in my opinion. From a defensive standpoint, they are a little bit more solid on defense because of McCardle, but the rest of their defensive core, it's up in the air. They have Aiden Wong, Declan Burrows, Norbert Albrecht, who used to be ours as well at one point in time, Dennis Von Arx, and Mario Ottereis. So, yeah, I don't know what to think, man, right now. They have not the strongest defense, the strongest forwards. I'm smelling some cheese, and I'm hoping it's the cheese I had for lunch, because I had some grilled cheese. So hopefully I don't get grilled into some cheese. I don't even know, man. Goaltending-wise, Dawson Smithson, and then they also have Matt Blujas. So they have a couple Blujases on their team, which is interesting, but their goaltenders are not that bad. Everything else is kind of like average. And then from a scratch perspective, Jacques Gaudette, who used to play with us briefly last season. No, it's actually been a while. He only played one game with us, and that was already 4 seasons ago. But yeah, I do remember using him as a depth forward. And Larry Hodgson, who is a top 6 forward prospect that they must have recently acquired. So they do have some good skill on their team. But I'm kind of curious on their player stats, like who's scoring a lot of their points right now. But I don't see them as a huge threat, but I feel like they're a threat just because we won the Presidents. So Here's their forward stats anyways. Leeson led them with 68 points this year. So yeah, they don't really score a ton, but they have good depth scoring on offense, it looks like. Like, you're having guys like this with 17 goals as a 78. So you could definitely see that they have some cheese in them, for sure. And then from a defensive standpoint, McArdle does provide good offense. Wong also does provide good offense for a 78. Same with Albrecht and all that. Like, their defense actually does a decent job, it looks like. And from a goaltending perspective, a 904 and a 903 from Smithson and Blugis. I think what also scares me is we have a young goaltending tandem going into their very first playoff series as like a starter and a backup. And they just won the President's Trophy, and they have all the highs in the world based on how good they did this season. But when it comes to playoff hockey, they don't have that experience yet. Irwin played a little bit in the playoffs last year. Like, I don't know who we should start for next round. Like, I want your guys' opinion on that. Both these goalies played pretty identically. We look at Juha Bergenheim. He's not got any playoff experience in the NHL. Has played briefly in the AHL playoffs. Was actually pretty good in it, despite having a losing record. And then we have Irwin as well, who has a little bit of NHL playoff experience. And he was actually really good last season for us in that short span. But, I really hope we can still play good defensively when it comes to the playoffs, because if we don't play good defensively into our strengths, we're going to have some problems. We also definitely need to make sure we get some good goal scoring, so hopefully Harris could provide us that, and maybe we could get to the second round, the third round, and beyond that as well. So hopefully we have a good run this year. Aside from that, the last thing I wanted to take a look at was the AHL. Looks like they finished the season strong. Actually, I have one more game left this season. Have they made it back into the playoff mix at all? Because I know they started off the season quite weak. They have made it back to the playoffs. Okay, that's surprising, because when I was looking last, I'm pretty sure they were well below 500, or they were around 500. But it looks like they've had a really strong end to the season, and they should be making it back to the playoffs this year. Let's briefly take a look at some stats in the AHL as well while we're at it, because there's a lot of guys that could come up for the NHL playoffs if we want to. Guys like DeKaiser, who led the team in points, he's pretty much ready to go for the NHL if we need offense. There's guys like McMillan, who I think are close as a depth forward option. Markstrom's pretty much ready to go as well. Same with Terry, he could come back up. Like, I didn't really like sending Neil Terry down to the AHL, but he provides good offense in the AHL level. Doesn't do as much of the NHL, but it would be nice to have him back maybe in that bottom six potentially. There's some other dudes as well, like Grummet Morrison, De Roche as well. Or we could just wait and see if there's any problems. But the AHL team found a way back into the playoffs, which is really good. There's also some defensemen like Jersina too, potentially, if we want defenders up here. And then the young goaltending. Olver's getting pretty close too to making the NHL, so we might have to make another tough decision goalie-wise this upcoming offseason based on that. All right. So there is that, and that is going to do it, guys, for this episode of New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the first round of the playoffs against the Montreal Canadiens as we look to not get cheesed, and hopefully we could take that cheese that we do smell, eat that cheese, and then maybe it won't be existent anymore, because I've had some bad luck with Montreal in this playoff run before, or not this playoff run specifically, but in the series, and I just feel like since we won the President's Trophy, it kind of makes us a bit of a risk for a first round exit. But if this team's going to gel like this in the playoffs, maybe it'll make us unstoppable. So we just got to forget that the President's Trophy curse exists, and hopefully we can find a way to keep on winning in the playoffs as well. So I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.